to a special edition of Sunday Night Foodball. This week, instead of doing the Kansas City-Los Angeles game, where they were both foods that we've seen recently, I decided to do a Thanksgiving special showing how I prepare my turkey. So if you've had turkey before, you know that the two biggest problems with it are that a lot of times it comes out dry, and that a lot of times it comes out kind of bland flavored. So you need that gravy to kind of salvage it. If you do this properly though, you can avoid needing that gravy. It's still good, but won't need it as much. So when I do turkey, the first and biggest step that I have to do with it is get it brined. So you can do this a lot of different ways. You can use a lot of different flavoring profiles depending on what you want to do. I like a really citrusy bird, so that's what I've got here. So once the bird is done or almost done thawing, you want to get it submerged with whatever kind of flavors you're wanting to add. So for this one here, I added 6 little lemons, just sliced in half and juiced, 4 little limes, again sliced and juiced, and then 2 big navel oranges, and those I cut into little slices, again pulled out all the juice, and then threw in the peels. You want all that flavor. Then I cut up an onion just into rough chunks, and added some parsley and some thyme from our garden here, and then added some vinegar all around, and then some salt water to fill it up to where the bird is submerged, or as much as possible. This one, the feet are going to be sticking up, but there's really no meat there anyways. The meat's farther down, so it's going to be fine. You want to let the bird brine for at least a day. 2 or 3 days is even better before cooking it. So as this is happening, all of those juices, everything in here, are going to be absorbed by the bird, and that's going to do 2 really important things. That's going to give it a lot of different flavors, and it's going to give it a lot of extra moisture so that it doesn't dry out when it's cooking. So doing this brine ahead of time is going to make the turkey go from being something that's really tricky to work with, you have to feel like you're salvaging as you're cooking it, to something that can really be a special holiday staple. So I've got all of this ready to go here. I'm just going to throw it back in the fridge, get the lid on this, make sure it stays submerged. And I'm going to brine it for, in this case, just about a day. It wasn't done thawing until today, and I'm wanting to cook it tomorrow. Ideally, I would have done this at least 1 more day ahead of time, but that's just not the way it worked out this time. But you want to give it at least a day, 2 or 3 if possible, so that all of that brine can really do its magic, really get those flavors in there. This morning, I got the bird dried off and pulled it out of the brine. I did not throw away all the aromatics from the brine. As you can see, I've got a few sitting here. We're still going to put those to use. So, just put a nice simple salt, pepper, garlic, and paprika rub on there. I've got the neck and the organs in there too. You can use those for gravy if you want. I like them as a little snack. But just a nice simple rub, nothing too fancy. And then I trimmed off any areas, especially around the cavity, where there was going to be just huge amounts of skin or fat. Now I've got that running on the smoker. I try to keep it going between 250 and 300. And for my fuel, I'm using some apple wood. And also, I'm going to be using some of these aromatics here. So I'm letting them sit on top of the firebox here so they dry out a little bit and warm up before I throw them on. That way they're not killing my cooking temperature. But once these get a little bit dried out and get up to kind of a room temperature, then I'm just going to throw them in there, so it's going to give a nice kind of sweet, citrusy, smoky flavor. It's going to give a lot of good flavor, going to really blast it with that citrusy aroma, and really get that flavor sealed in from every way possible. Right. So the turkey is done. This one took about 4.5 hours, keeping the temperatures going between 250 and 300 the whole time. It's done when the breast reaches a temperature of about 165. And the legs, the wings, because they're smaller pieces and sticking out, they're going to get a little bit higher temperatures. That's fine. If you have it stuffed, it's going to take a little bit longer because that's going to just slow down the cooking process. But as you can see, we've got really nice kind of mahogany, golden brown color here all the way around. The wings and drumsticks are going to be nice and crispy. And the breast, this is where that brine really comes in. that breast is still going to be really juicy, not like a lot of times you get with white meat where it just dries out and you have to salvage it with gravy. This is going to stay nice and juicy, so it's still going to be the highlight of the meal without having to be doctored up a bunch. Thank you for watching this Thanksgiving special episode of our Sunday Night Foodball show. Thanks as always to my lovely wife Evelise for doing the filming and recording and editing. And feel free to like, share, subscribe, anything like that if you enjoyed what we did here today. Thank you.